Hello to everybody. Welcome to Blind and Knitting with Donna. Blind and Knitting is my little podcast on what I'm knitting, what I'm working on, some of my veggie garden stuff. I find that most people that do crafts will do a bulk of crafts, so you'll get a little taste of all sorts of crafts, but mostly knitting. I am legally blind, and I have just a tiny wee thing of sight. So I will also talk a little bit about my struggles and learnings around that, hopefully to help others that have disabilities to work through their challenges so that they can still enjoy their passions. My passion is knitting. I have knitted all of my life. And you can go back to my intro to find out a little bit more, but as I've lost my sight, I decided that I would do this podcast just to follow my learnings along the way. So welcome, 2022 it is. I hope you've had a fantastic break and are all back at work and ticking along. I have had a fantastic break, as I said, and this month, January, is a big month for us. We have so many family birthdays. I have my grandson and great niece on the 17th, my sister on the 19th, my niece on the 20th, my grandson on the 31st, my son on the 7th, and a stepdaughter on the 5th. So it's a big time of the month, yeah. So I do wish I did. Many years ago, I used to start doing gifts in about March, and I used to have a little box in my bottom of my wardrobe, and I'd fill them up through the year. And when a birthday came along, I'd pluck something out that suited that person. And I haven't done that. And I'd love to knit gifts for people, but it's a bit like you watch all these podcasts over in Alaska and Canada, and they make toques and beanies and mittens and lovely little gift things, but it doesn't get cold enough down here in New Zealand. So you could do scarves maybe as a gift, a special gift. There's a lot of knitting and a lot of passion that goes into something bigger than like a scarf or a garment. So, I heard the word the other day, knitworthy. You have to make sure that the person that you're giving it to is going to take care of the work that you've done, because there is a lot of work involved. There's no denying that. It's a labour of love. But yeah, so a lot of birthdays this month. I have talked in previous episodes, this is episode 7 by the way, I have talked in previous episodes about my makeup dramas, and you can go back and look at them. I'm not going to wear makeup anymore. My gosh, I had another drama. So I went to put mascara on, and I was putting it on. I thought, oh gosh, that feels really funny. And it was actually my lipstick stick. So no, being blind, I can't see myself in the mirror very well now, so it's just not going to happen. Yeah, but anyway, that's us. So welcome. Thank you so much for the people that have subscribed and watched my podcast. I had some fantastic comments back. Thank you so much for the lovely lady in Ukraine who's messaged me, and it's just really nice to get these messages from people, and I hope that I can give you some knowledge and passion and friendship along the way, and I know I'm going to get it back as well. So that's me. So if you want to see more, subscribe, push the subscribe button and push the little bell. That'll be lovely, and then you'll know in your notifications bar on YouTube, you'll know when I come up. I do have an Instagram which I try and keep my projects on as I'm adding them. It is blind_and_knitting, blind and knitting, but with underscores, blind_and_knitting. I did have another one previously that was compromised, so if it hasn't got the underscores, it's not the right one. So yeah, if you want to have a look at those. So if there's anything that I talk about here, I do try and put photos of them there so you can see them a little better in a photo, because I'm not very good at editing these things. And I have to be honest and say this is my second go, because I did get halfway through my podcast before and my partner turned up for a coffee and I paused it, but I didn't pause it, I stopped it. And then I was trying to add to it again, and I just got frustrated. So I figured, start again, Donna. So this is round 2. So yeah, here we go. Here we go. I'm booked in for surgery. I was supposed to have had it yesterday. There's quite a waiting list, so not quite a waiting list. There were no beds for me. That's why so it was postponed for next week. But that does mean that I've got some recovery time coming up. So I'm thinking knitting. It also means that this week I had planned to have the surgery, so I had wiped my jobs and chores. So this week's a bit quiet too. So hence doing the podcast this week. And yeah, I'm hoping that I won't be in that much pain, that the recovery will be okay, that I can actually knit. Oh, you see Kenzie down the... I think you saw Kenzie down there. If you just keep an eye right there, you'll see her up and down when she's looking in the window. Yeah, so that's means that I might have quite a bit of recovery time, so I'll be able to get some knitting done. So not looking forward to the surgery, but I'm looking forward to the knitting time and after the surgery. So last podcast I said that I was going to go through some of my old patterns, old ones of my mum's, God bless her, and my mother-in-law's. So mum was Lois and my mother-in-law was June, and they were both avid knitters. And this was a pile. Honestly, the pile was that high, and I went through it, and there's still another pile down here that I'm not going to go through it with you because it would take forever. But I just thought I'd talk through a little of these patterns, because gosh, they bring back some memories when you go back through these patterns that my mum and mother-in-law made many years ago, and some of them are patterns that I've made many years ago as well. So I just thought it would be a little bit of fun to go through some of them just for something different. And then I promise I will get into my FOs, my finished objects, and my whips, and my future plans on what I'm going to put on the needles when they're done. So here we go. This one here, Mon Tricot, I think it's called. It would cost 25p. So this is old, 25p. But you know, that's still a relevant pattern. And if you wait till I go through my whips later on, I'm knitting something that's very, very similar to that pattern. In fact, I know that's crocheted, but it just looks very similar. Mon Tricot. And so some of the colours are a bit, you know, very old fashioned, but some of the patterns, I would still, oh my gosh, I wouldn't make that. But I'd make that, but not as long maybe. I'd make it into, you know, to just under my hips. That's rather pretty. So, you know, some of these patterns are still relevant in some way. And I think, you know, that's the key with when you're sewing and knitting is, I made a pair of these when I was in my 20s. Oh my gosh. Who would wear crocheted bikinis now? I wouldn't wear a bikini now for a start, but who would wear a crochet bikini? So yeah, that's quite a fun little book. Some of them, oh dear. Anyway, that's 25p, just a bit of fun. But I think what I do with these, here's, oh my gosh, the 80s. Remember the 80s? You know, with the great big shoulder pads, and my partner at the time used to call my hair, say, have you got your feathers in your hair? Because it'll be that crisp with, you know, crisped back. But actually, some of these are really nice, and I would genuinely make them. My thing now is, I don't know if I could go back to, you know, pieces. I'd have to try and convert them in the rounds with, you know, but I haven't quite got that far yet. But the 80s, yo, love the colours of those things, and some of the styles are quite cool. Obviously wouldn't put any shoulder pads in. This is a crocheted one. Again, that's the 80s. Funky glasses. But again, I'd wear that top. Nothing wrong with that top at all. This one here, I mean, the resurgence in yoke, top-down yoke with colour work, and that's one of my goals for 2022. Is I often talk about my last year was a really learning year for me, a learning all this new stuff. So, so top down, circular knitting, short rows. What else did I learn last? 3 needle bind offs. All of that last year was a really learning year for me. It was all, and it got me recharged and revibrated again, as I've talked about before. So 2022, what's that going to bring for me? Well, I still want to keep learning. I'm really enjoying this learning thing. I've taken on Libby Johnson's or Truly Myrtle's wardrobe toolbox, which is a paid. It has master classes and special patterns and all sorts of extra stuff. So there's a real learning content in there. I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Thank you, Libby. If you ever watch this, I'm really enjoying the wardrobe toolbox, and it's a whole new set of people, new friends, knitting friends. So loving that. My one big goal for the year, I suppose, knitting wise, is I colour work. I've never done a colour work, never done a fair roll, never done anything like that. So I really want to do a colour work. So I'm looking at it's like a top-down yoke colour work for winter. I'm going to leave it till it's cooler, because I think I need sort of to be settled into winter, I suppose, to really concentrate on something that's thick and wintry and long sleeve. I suppose I could knit a short sleeve one. Anyway, colour work. Colour work is going to be my 2022 knitting learning goal, because I've learnt so much last year. And I also, the other thing that I wanted to learn, and it's in one of my whips, is brioche, and I'll talk a little bit more about that further on, because that seems to be quite the craze. But back to colour work, colour work yokes. This is an old one of my, I can't remember if it's mum's or my mother-in-law's, but it I don't know if you can see that, but it's I mean, you could wear that today and say that it's quite modern. The only thing is it's knitted in pieces, not in the round yoke down. So for inspiration, that's a lovely pattern. When my first podcast or second podcast, can't remember which, I wore a jersey that I knitted. It was my last jersey that was knit in pieces, the old-fashioned way, V-neck, raglan, and I found the pattern. It's a good old-fashioned shepherd. I think I said it was a Patons, but this is a shepherd pattern. Just your good old-fashioned V-neck, old-fashioned. But that was what I knitted. My last. Oh no, maybe it wasn't this one, because my last one was raglan, and this is the drop sleeve. Oh, I might be leading you astray. Anyway, that's a very old pattern, but I might be leading you astray. Here's some more 80s. Oh, the 80s. Who loved the 80s? Oh, great big shoulder pads. There's one there, that one there. Now, I would wear that without the shoulder pads. Oh no, not that one, that one. I mean, it's lovely, but I wouldn't wear the great big shoulder pads in it. So you can still use these for motivation. Here's one that I wanted to do for my partner, and I never did. I'll take him. Oh, that's one that I want to do for my partner. But I think, and now I will look at, again, top down or in the round. But that just gives me motivation again. In one of my podcasts, I said that I made some fingerless gloves to match my last shawl that I knit. Scarf. I knit a scarf and I had a bit left, so I quickly whipped up some fingerless gloves. Couldn't find the pattern. There it is there. Old-fashioned shepherd pattern. How old-fashioned? I don't know how old this is. It's pretty ratty. And that's the fingerless gloves I made. They had a seam in them. They weren't circular, but I don't know. That's what I used, and it was quite good. Oh, now here's a memory one. Here's a real memory one. My children are 30, I better get it right because they'll growl, 37 and 38 years old now, and they had these when they were little. Oh, with their little tartan skirts. Well, one was Kushla with it. Troy obviously didn't wear a skirt. Troy had trousers, and Kushla had a little tartan skirt and their little cardies. How gorgeous. You could make that today, no problem at all, and not know that that is 37 years old. It's one of the, I think that's the thing, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is when you knit, it takes a long time, and it is a passion of love. You know, you really put a lot into a garment, and a lot of finance too. It's not cheap knitting, although I have proven, as I did last year, I did one called the leaf top out of Uncle Bill's wool. It cost me $20 to knit the apricot top, if you remember that one. It cost me $20. So you can do it on a budget, but it's not fast food. It's not fast knitting. It's slow food. It's slow knitting. And so you want it to last a lifetime. So these traditional patterns will last through the years. Mum brought these and June brought these with the intention of knitting them at the time. I don't know whether they ever thought my grandchildren will knit this pattern. You know, I don't know if they ever thought that, but they certainly thought that the clothes they were knitting were going to last and were going to be made well to last and passed down. I mean, you know, I would get a new jersey, and then my sister would get a new to her jersey. So, you know, they lasted. Here's another one that I did knit in the past, and it's one of my favourites. I absolutely loved it. It was like a Guernsey, but it had a rolled neck, and I've lost it. I've lost it, and sometimes I lie in bed and go, where the heck is that jersey? I have no idea. Whether I've loaned it to someone to wear home after an evening. Oh, I just hope it turns up, because it was one of my favourites. It was made out of pure wool homespun, and it had just really simple but nice patterns. It was kind of a really dark emerald green with the rolled neck. So I just hope that turns out, because, yeah, sadly I've lost that. Here's one that I have knit in the past. This is when errands were all the rage, and I believe errands are coming back in. I knit, talking about lasting for years, I should have still had it, but my darling mother, she worked in a laundry, and I had knit that, and she said, I'll wash your jersey for you, I'll take good care of it. There's a new machine at my laundry, it was an industrial laundry, that does woolens. And when I went to pick it up, she looked funny, and I thought, what's wrong? And she pulled out this little shrunken mat of a jersey that she had shrunk, and it was hours and hours of work. But I did love knitting Aran. It was one of my favourite things to knit. I'm going to try again. I don't know with my site whether I can. The one advantage is you often knit with lighter colours. You do tend to knit, Kenzie, what you doing? Do tend to knit with lighter colours. Now, I was talking in one of my podcasts about what I knit first, what I can remember knitting first, and it was a hideous colour, I remember it, but it was a vest. It was a round-necked, sleeveless stocking stitch vest, and it was in this colour I wouldn't wear now, but it's sort of gold, speckly, mustardy, goldy colour, which is quite fashionable, but I know it wouldn't suit me. That was the first thing I ever knit. The second thing I ever knit was a pair of booties. I think I knit those top ones there. I put them in the old days. We used to have a glory box. I don't know how many of you remember or had a glory box, but I had a great big glory box, and I filled it when I started. I don't know, I was about 12. I got my first job at 11 in a fabric shop, in a curtaining and furniture and fabric shop. After school, and so I had a little bit of income, and I bought a glory box from the shop. I lay-byed it for $2 a week, which was a lot of money in those days, and I filled it from 12 years old until I left home and when I got married. And so it had all sorts of stuff in it. It had baby's clothes and sheets and curtaining, and it was just full, pots and pans and just stuff. Yeah, so I'm sure they were in it, because I remember my first baby, Kushla, wearing those. That was my second ever proper knit. Getting through them, nearly there. Now I kept these more for, I don't do toys. I don't knit toys. But my mother-in-law, these were my mother-in-law's books, and I just couldn't get rid of them. So they're quite cute. There's teddies and dolls, and I do like the little, where are they? Policemen. I think they're quite cool. So yeah, I've kept them. I don't know. I might end up knitting toys when I'm older, but at the moment they're a no. But they're just a memory thing. Just, you know, it's part of June, part of who she was. So I've just kept those. This here, I love this book. Love this book. And it was June's, I think, or Mum's. Oh, see, again, I can't remember. They're all mixed together. 1300 Pattern Stitches, Advice and Hints. It's probably 100 years old. It's feels like a book. You can't beat a book. I'm not very good at reading anymore. I can't read that, but I can look at the pictures and get ideas, and just some beautiful, just lovely. So I kept that. Again, I don't know if it's Mum's or June's. It doesn't have a date on it, but it cost $5, which I would say, oh, it's that Montricot again, or Tricot. Yeah, $5 was probably a heck of a lot of money a long time ago. Last one, I kept this one as well. I'm assuming this is June's because it's newer, and June only passed away 3 years ago. And Mum passed away 12 years ago. So I think this must have been June's, but it's doing letters on knitting lettering. Knitted letters. So it's, yeah, probably another thing that I won't use, but it's just a nice memory thing. Wow. There's a bit, gee, I hope nobody mucks up this video, because I'm not doing that again. It was a lot of memories, yeah, a lot of special stuff, but also a lot of memories. This is actually a knitting thing, so that was knitting, of course, but now it's time to talk about, I'll get my notebook, some finished objects, isn't it? Let me have a look. Yeah, I've talked about my learnings. I've talked about wanting to do a colour work. That's my goal. So, finished objects. Da, da, da. I'm wearing one of them. I'm wearing one. Look. See that? Bejeweled. Bejeweled is a... Oh, there's the pattern there. Oh, no, I can't get it. It's not released anyway. It's a Truly Myrtle Libby Johnson pattern. It's in Wardrobe Toolbox, so it's been released to us, so you won't get it. It's not out for public release, so, but keep an eye out when it is, because it's just beautiful. It's lovely to wear. I made it out of a sublime cashmere. It's just so soft around my neck. It's like wearing velvet. And I've actually blocked it in a wool wash with eucalyptus, so it smells really good too. But it's got beads around it, so that was a new learning thing for me, is how to put beads on. I didn't have a great deal of fun with that, being blind, but in my last podcast I did give some tips on how to work with beads so that you don't lose them all over the floor all the time. So if you want to look back on the podcast, I love this. I love it. I'm not sure why I picked pink. Pink is a colour I tend to go for, and again, back on my other podcasts, there's a lot of things that are pink. So I'm trying to stay away from pink, because I've done a lot of pink. But I'm really happy with this. So thank you, Libby. It's in Wardrobe Toolbox. Wardrobe Toolbox is a paid masterclass. I don't even know what to call it, but it's a program that Libby creates, produces, and she brings out new patterns, and she does master classes, and we have Q&As and workshops and learning, lots of learning. So it's, again, it fits with my new learning journey in the knitting. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and this was one of the patterns. So they get released to the Wardrobe Toolbox, but then they are released to the public later on. I've got one that I'm going to cast on that has just been released out to public, so I'll show you that in my whips. and my whoops push, as Kevin and Ray say on Needles at the Ready, which is one of my favourite podcasts. So that's one of my first finished object. My second finished object is my Gemini. Now this was another learning one. What I did in learning with this is I made it out of 100% cotton because I wanted to make a summer top that was not going to overheat me, that I could wear in the summer. And I thought if I go for 100% cotton, that's the extreme of the mixes. You know, it's a pure 100% cotton. Then I get a real sense of what it's like to knit with 100% cotton. I also did the same with 100% acrylic last year and 4-ply, which I'd never knitted garment with before. So they were my 3 learnings last year about knitting to the extreme. Like, well, I know 4-ply is not an extreme, but it is for me because of my sight challenges on whether I could do it, and what it was 100% cotton and 100% acrylic. And it's knitted up really lovely. It's quite heavy. It's not as ropey as I thought it would be. It's softened up, but it's still quite heavy. I really like the square neckline. If you can see that, the neck line is square rather than round. The sleeves, a bit big. They look fine on. It looks like that's part of the pattern. But if I made it again, I'd make the raglan, it's a long raglan, I'd make the raglan smaller. I do question whether I've made too big a size, perhaps. But yeah, really pretty. Gemini. I have talked about this in previous podcasts, so I'm not going to go into detail on what anything. You can go back on those. Yeah, finished object. Very nice. I've worn it several times. It's nice and bright. It's a nice colour. It's cool being cotton. Would I knit with cotton again? Well, I'll tell you in the whips, shall I? That's another FO. So those are my 2 finished objects for 2022 so far. Both of them were started in 2021, so I can't say that I knitted them in the, what are we, 20th and 20 days, so I didn't do that. But gosh, I'm not that fast a knitter, but I finished them in 2022. So they're my finished objects. Now to whips. Whips. Well, because I'm having surgery, or supposed to have had, but am having next week, hopefully, surgery, I am thinking about my post-operative, what I will need. So I thought, right, what I need is something that I can pick up and knit without, like, knit intuitively, because if I'm on painkillers, etc., I don't want anything to really concentrate too much on. And something, I always like to have something that's a little bit thinky going as well, that I can pick up when I am feeling like I want to sort of think. So I have made progress on 2 whips. My first one, and this is another learning for me for 2022, is a brioche. Now, I kept watching podcasts, etc., about brioche and thinking, what I thought was it must have been like fisherman's rib was what I kept thinking it must have been. So it just must be fisherman's rib because it looks like fisherman's rib. I didn't know much more than that. And then it's become really popular. People are doing double brioche and brioche hats and brioche scarves. And I do watch a podcast called Fruity Knitting, and I've talked about them in the past with Andrew and Andrea. And their daughter Madeleine often comes in. Sadly, Andrea's passed away since. But in one of the series, Madeleine had come in, the daughter, and she was knitting a jersey called Ribblesdale Vest by Lily Kate France. And that's it there. So it's a nice little vest that you could wear over a dress or over a flowing, one of those sort of like artists' white tops, or with a shirt with it coming down underneath. So, and I get really hot. So for me, I thought, well, this is a good idea because I can stay cool with my arms being free, but have a bit of warmth around my tummy and my back being older. So I really liked the idea, and it was brioche. So I thought, right, here's a new learning thing. So I bought the pattern off Ravelry, and I've made a good start. So here is my brioche. look closely, have a closer look, it's really lovely. I quite like knitting it. It's definitely not double knit. It's a little bit more complicated. Oh, it's not complicated, that's not the right word. A little bit more involved than just double knit or fisherman's rib. It's got what you call burps and barks. So a burp is a backward purl stitch, and a bark is a yarn over knit two together knit stitch. So there was on Fruity Knitting, they have a section called Knitters of the World, and they had a woman talking about brioche, and evidently she's done a lot of study about it and written books about brioche. She reckons it's a stitch pattern style that is not used enough, although that seems to be changing. So it was really interesting. So she, excuse me, the first time they discovered brioche was in the 1500s, and the assumption is that it was knitted for the warmth. So I'm assuming somewhere like Scotland, England, UK. So it was used for the warmth because every row you knit is basically half a row. So you have to knit 2 rows to complete 1 row. So there's a bit of knitting, you know, that's a lot of knitting. But this isn't a bulky knit, so it is going fast, slow and fast at the same time, if that makes sense. It's kind of knitting at the same weight as a 4-ply, but it's a bulky knit, so because you're doing 2 rows to complete 1 entire row. I'm really enjoying it because once you get used to the rhythm of it, you can just get into it without thinking. Although I am presently up to dividing for the armholes. One thing I found with the brioche is that I keep forgetting to, because you never purl your purl stitch, you just slip your purl stitches. And if you're knitting along, and I don't know how many times I've gone, oh, shoot, and I've had to go back to unknit a purl stitch that I've knitted by habit. So you've got to get into the habit of slipping your purl stitch and then yarning over, slipping your purl stitch and then yarning over, and then the next row you are knitting your 2, you yarn over and you knit together. Yeah, so I won't go into detail. There's plenty of videos on it, on how to do it. This pattern was really good. It was nice and clear and concise, so that was helpful as well. This I am knitting with a Skeins wool. So Skeins is a company in the North Island of New Zealand. It's 100% New Zealand wool. Where is it in my bag? It is called Vintage. I've knitted with this before. In previous ones you'll know that I knitted my oatmeal and with it, it's 100% pure wool, so it is not soft like this, but it is not really scratchy. You can wear it comfortably around your skin without feeling scratchy, but it's a wool. It's a pure wool, so it is a warm winter fabric to use. It's not something to wear in the summer. So the brioche, yeah, I've really enjoyed learning the brioche. Will I knit another one? Not sure, because there's a lot of knitting in it. Excuse me. What else can I talk about? So it had, when you were knitting up the fronts, you slipped the stitch. The first stitch was always slipped, and then you got into the pattern. I don't like that. It's just old-fashioned, I think. I like to have that knot, so I always knit the first stitch. However, as when I got up further and looked at it, it's kind of a bit wavy. It's kind of stretched out, and that's obviously because for every 2 stitches, it's 1. So basically, for every half stitch, I've done a knit stitch on the end. So it is wavy, but it's not going to show you. It's not hugely wavy, and it's a thick material that copes with it. The other thing that I've done wrong, and this is definitely something that a lesson learned, and it's just going to have to be, because there's no way I'm unpicking this, is so on the left hand side down the front, I have my knit stitch at my edge stitch. Then I have a knit, a purl and a knit, so that your first one is a knit. I hope you can see that. On the right hand side, however, I did not consider, and I have my knots, whoops, and I have a purl and a purl, so they don't match. So yeah, I'm not going to unpick it. As my mother would say, one of her favourite sayings is, a blind man would be pleased to see it. A non-knitter will not notice it. Anyone that's watched this podcast and sees it with me on will notice it, no doubt, and that's okay. So it doesn't quite match going up the fronts. When I get to the V-neck, what I did question whether I will decrease that extra knit stitch before I start doing that, so that it does match coming up here, because that's a little bit of a, you know, it's a visual piece. I'm up to that now, and I just need to think about that a bit more, I think. But yeah, loving it. Love the colour Bergamin. It's the colour. It's a 10 ply. It's a lovely wool, and the brioche is just so bouncy. You could use it as a trampoline. Very thick, very bouncy. That will take a bit of head work. So when I have my surgery, that might be one that might get put just aside. So I knew that would probably be the case. So I thought, right, I'll cast something on that is. And I did have the pattern, but I cannot find it. Oh, yes, I can. It's right here. Goodness me. This is called Paris Toujours, and it's an Isabel Kramer. And I saw this pattern, I saw this made on Needles at the Ready, Kevin and Ray. Not sure which one is Kevin. I think Kevin's the one with the beard that sits on the left. He had it on, and it just looked stunning. So I decided that, and he said that it was a simple knit, that it was an easy pattern, simple knit, and I had shawl FOMO. So I thought, right, I'm going to make that shawl. And so I thought, I'm going to go for the same wool, because this is so lovely right next to your skin, so it's not going to be scratchy. So I went for the same wool, but completely different colour. And I've gone for this colour, which in one light looks really blue, and in another light looks really purple. So I think what I'll wear it with will change the colour a bit. It seems to pick up colours. It's a really cool pattern, simple. So it's just 4 rows of yarn over lace, and 6 rows of garter stitch alternating. So yeah, it's the start of that one. It's going to be quite a big shawl, one of those big ones that you wrap around. So I'm looking forward to that for winter, because as I said, I get hot, so this is something I can take off and put on. Yeah, I'm loving it, and it's so easy. It's intuitive knitting, so when I'm recovering, I think I'll be able to do it. I don't know what this is called, whether this is an I-cord side edging, but it's got the coolest edge which goes round, and that's really cool. I've not done that before, so that's a new learning for me. Really quite looking forward to that. I think that'll look really cool with the denim jacket, white t-shirt and some jeans. Or I've got a black woolen formal coat for going to meetings and stuff. But that will be a nice easy knit when I'm on painkillers and sitting here really recovering, the first stages of that recovery when you're not really very clear-headed. I'll be able to do that one. I did think that I could start something even simpler if I am truly not in a good frame. So I started some dishcloths. This is 100% cotton from, I can't remember if it was Uncle Bill's or the Warehouse. It was cheap as chips. I think it was $15. So I've started 2 crocheted dishcloths. They're faded, just nice, plain, just triple crochet, double crochet I should say, and yeah, I think I'll get 3 out of that skein. I love cotton dishcloths. I haven't got them at the moment. My mother-in-law made me a whole lot when she was alive and living here, and we've just used. They're now used as rags, cloths, sort of floor cloths, etc. and I don't know why, but I just ended up buying some cheapest chip supermarket ones instead of nice cotton ones. So I think they'll be, if I'm really struggling and needing something that I don't have to think about at all, crocheting just squares. There's my dishcloths all sitting there ready to go. And of course, I might say this every podcast, I've got the Grandy kids hats for camping sitting there as well. I hope I get those done, but they're not going to need them now. They'll wear those in the winter. So that's my FOs and my whips. That's keeping me really busy. As I say, I am really enjoying the learning again. Every time I go for a new pattern, I think, is this something I can learn from, particularly around my sight challenges? So the brioche, can I do this? Because if I can't, the one blessing with knitting is you can just frog it. If I do, for example, this is a great example, because this pattern here is actually knitted on a 4-ply. And I started a 4-ply, and I've not done a lot of lace, just little bits on booties and things, so but certainly never done them with beads on. So started one in a 4-ply, and look, I think I've shown you, actually, it just ended up into a mushed ball because I tried frogging it. It just it was hard. It was the choice of wool, having said that. So I thought, no, I'm just gonna do this on DK. And so I got the DK, I fell in love with this wool, and decided that this is what it's going to be. It's not supposed to be DK, and I did worry that the beads might look a little lost, but actually they don't. They're close enough together, and there's enough of them to give it enough representation on a DK wool, so they are fine. So if that's my thing now, is it's okay if I can't do it, but try and push yourself into some new learning. So hence the brioche, hence the beads, but also, make sure you've got something that is easy knit, so that you are doing, keeping yourself motivated. You don't want to be frustrated the whole time with new learnings, because new learnings are frustrating until you get to understand them. I mean, brioche, I don't know how many, I sat here, with a grumpy frown for reading the pattern and reading the pattern and trying and thinking, what the heck? And then now it's like, Scooby-Doo. So yeah, the new learning. So that's what's in. So purchases. Broke the bank. Oh my gosh. Where's my partner? Don't tell him. I hope he's not around. No, he wouldn't mind. I guess what I've decided, and again, last year was a learning thing. I did 100% acrylic, cost me $20 to knit a summer top. I did a $200 4-ply summer top, and thought about both of them. I love my 4-ply, would be the favorite one. The $20 one I will wear, weekend wear, and the reason is more the pattern. I got lost in the pattern than the wool. So the $20 one but what I have decided is, because I want to, I've promised myself that I won't be afraid of spending good money on wool. I put a little bit away each payday, so that, because it takes me around a month-ish to knit something, depending on what it is, 3 weeks to 6 weeks, I suppose. So I just put a little bit away each payday, so that once a month I've got a little bit to be able to spoil myself, I suppose. Well, yeah, it's my hobby, and hobbies are important, so I don't mind spending good money. Don't mind spending cheap money either. I mean, the cotton for the dishcloths, $15, that jersey, $20. But I'm not going to be afraid to spend good money as well. So my next 2 purchases, and I did say I would give Helena a shout out, because she's been absolutely amazing. So happy go nitty, Helena. Thank you for being so awesome. We've just got off the phone from each other. You rock. Thank you for being so helpful. So I have sent away for a jersey lot for it's a wardrobe toolbox top again that Libby Johnson has designed. So the pattern's not been released, so it's just for wardrobe toolbox, and it's a Happy Go Knitty wool called Mardi, and I got a lovely, I think it's called Ocean Breeze or Sea Breeze, something to do with the ocean. So it's a really beautiful greeny colour. Really excited to look, can't wait to get it. So I've ordered that. That was a reasonable cost, you know. Again, I'm not afraid to spend good money. It'll be a top that I'll be able to wear a lot. So that is on the way. And I thought, well, while that's on the way, because that wasn't expected until end of January, I'll order another one, so that, because I'm just about finished. Really, there's not that much knitting left on the vest, on my brioche vest. So I wanted something in between. And I brought, where is it? This is a newly released pattern. I love Libby Johnson's patterns, and I suppose it's because I am doing her wardrobe toolbox that I'm knitting a lot of them. But this has just been newly released, and it's called Urchin, and it's beautiful, and it's made out of, it's a linen mix. It's a top-down circular knitted with a couple of lace panels on the side. So it's reasonably simple. Should be a reasonably fast knit and not too complicated, but it's just really pretty. And I thought, well, I'll go and have a look. And I wanted something, I was trying to think of getting away from pink. And this colour here is my favourite colour. This colour here, sort of this caramelly fawny cream. I love this colour, or taupe, I suppose it's called. And so I thought, right, this will be perfect for the Urchin. It's 100% cotton, which I went for again because of summer and getting hot. But it's a different cotton. And the brand is, I brought this from the embroidery shop in Masterton. So Brenda, thank you. There's a shout out for you. Cessia Windsurf. It is. It's 100% cotton from the embroidery shop in town. Got it home and I started knitting my swatch, and I do love the cotton and I love the colour and I love the feel of it, but I don't think it's right for Urchin. The more I've thought about it, I looked at the Urchin and it's a very flowy. It's got a lot of positive ease, and it's nice and flowy, and I just don't think that this cotton will do this. I think this cotton will be a heavy weighty, more straight down like my Gemini. So last night in bed, as you do, go on the Happy Go Knitty website and order some fabric, some wool. It was a merino silk 50-50 blend, I think it was, and ordered that last night. Helena rang me today, and I really do appreciate the phone call, because she rang and she asked if it was for a garment. Or firstly, she said that I ordered 4 hanks and she only had 2 and 2, both of different lots, so they were quite different. What was it going to be for? So I said a garment. So we've decided that she would make me up a new 4 all the same in the same batch, which is fantastic. I really appreciate that. But then she said, if it's for a garment, I'm not sure if I really recommend the choice of wool you've chosen. And now this is good salesperson. This is really good salesmanship. You know, she said it's very delicate. It makes fantastic shawls, but not garments. And then I said to her that, you know, being legally blind, I do struggle with challenging wools. So, and she said, well, yeah, that is another issue. So she said, I do recommend the Mardi, which is her, the other one, which is what I've ordered. I think I've ordered for the other one. A smidge dearer, but she's going to cover the cost because I've got 2 orders and 2 lots of postage that can be created into one. So just thank you so much, Elaine. I said I'd give you a shout out, and I seriously mean it. I am truly appreciative that you were honest enough to tell me that that wool wasn't good for what I was planning, and to give me another recommendation. That to me is great salesmanship, and I will be back. So I'm looking forward to getting those 2 lots of wool. But in the meantime, I will make a start on something with this, but it won't be the urchin, because I just don't think that's right for it. But when I was looking through those old, and you know, my eyes are so itchy, and I'm sure it's dust out of those old patterns. There was, in one of those old patterns, is a tank top, and it's just an open, it's not crocheted, it's knitted, but I've got one that's crocheted as well. So it's a double crochet and 2 knits, double crochet, 2 knits, double crochet. So it's quite holey, like like a really open, you know, those old-fashioned singlets that men used to wear, those white singlets that were all open, like that, but it's with a cap sleeve. I think this would look quite good in something like that with a little cami under it. So I'm going to change. I was going to take it back, and I was going to say to Brenda, look, I'm sorry, I started a swatch. I wasn't happy. You know, will she give me a credit? And I'm sure she would. But I love the colour, and I quite like cotton because I get so hot. So now that I've planned my urchin, that's where I've kept all those. I've run out of bags. So I have to use a plastic bag. I've run out of project bags. Too many projects on the go. But I was thinking about it, and I thought it's so cool because I've projects on the go. My project bags are full, but they do keep changing. So it's not the same project in the bag all the time, which is really nice. So that's, so the plans beyond my whips are the urchin with Happy Go Knitties wool, and another knit with Happy Go Knitties wool. I haven't actually decided what I'm going to knit with that second lot yet. Could be the urchin. Because she said it's a beautiful soft wool and it's got silk in it, so it may well be perfect for the urchin. So we'll see. My 100% cotton, I will decide on something, but my gut feeling is it will be an open mesh cap sleeve, just a t-shirt type thing that I can wear a cami underneath, which will be nice and cool in the summer. And that's all my knitting, I think. I've got my hats, which I'll tick along with. I've got my dishcloths, which I can tick along with. I did cast on a cowl out of some wool that I brought a while ago, and I showed, and it was called Gallipoli, and some of the money went to the RSA. So part of the donation went to the RSA. I cast it on a cowl. It's too scratchy. I'm not going to wear it next to my neck, so it's going to have to be socks. So I'm going to what do they call it? Frog it. I'll rip that back. I only cast it on, so it's not even worth showing you. So I just can see that it's just going to be too scratchy around my neck. It was supposed to be to match my oatmeal, because it did lovely, but hey ho, it's going to have to be socks, and I'll get into socks in the winter again. I was given some lovely socks at Christmas, so I don't need socks. They could be gifts. I could start my gift box again with socks. That might be a good idea, actually. So that's my knitting. But I did buy a little piece of material from the sewing shop. I showed you last time, I think, a skirt that I'd made with beautiful black material with big red roses on. It was just a very simple A-line skirt, or it was more of a pencil skirt really, with elastic waist and just nice and straight. I've worn it so much. I really, it's just been one of those skirts it's really pretty. Love the material, simple, comfy. So I thought, well, I'll make another one. I walked in and I saw this at Evans's in town. So Evans's is in Masterton, and this is I don't know what kind of fabric it is. It's probably a rayon, but it's got a really good stretch to it, which is just perfect for that skirt. So I'm just going to make another one. You know, repeat. If it works and you enjoy the style and the pattern and the shape and the comfort, make another one, I say. It's quite a cool piece of material. I'll have to knit something to go with it on the top, won't I? I don't, oh, actually, no, will it go or not? No, I don't know about that one. No, it needs to be more gold. I can't knit black. There's no way I can knit black with my sight at the moment. It's just not a happening thing. I'm just going to check my notes, make sure I don't miss anything. Sewing, I've got some repairs to do as well. Stuart's got a jersey that it's all rickety around the band here, so I'll just cut that off and zigzag round. It's only a farm jersey. I think it's got a tear in it up here somewhere, and I'll just mend that with a mending stitch on the sewing machine. I can still do that quite well. I don't, when I'm sewing, because of my sight challenges, I don't do anything sort of very detailed anymore. I just stick to nice and simple, but mending, good old farm stuff. Oh, sorry, just checking on Kenzie again. Mending good old farm stuff is easy peasy. The gardening I've talked about. Did I talk about my cheetah collie? I don't know if I've done it in this one or the one that I had to delete. I'm going to do it again. So if if I've done that on this one, I'm doubling up. If I did it on the other one, this is the first time. You get what you get with me. So cheetah collie, my garden has just been fantastic. We've been able to eat out of it all the time. So we've had lots of silver beet, lots of salad stuff, carrots, beetroot. What else have I had out of it? Cauliflower, broccoli, lots of broccoli. It's just been just the perfect amounts as well. Radishes, spring onions, la-di-da, all of those sort of veggies. Heaps of tomatoes coming up. They're just starting to come up now. Heaps of capsicums. So I'll be able to make some beautiful pasta sauces that I can freeze for winter. But I had one of my collies came up, and it was a pack that my sister-in-law Heather brought, one of those mixed packs, and I put it in, and I just read that it was mixed collie, so I assumed it was broccoli flower, you know, the green broccoli, which I've grown years ago and do like to eat, so I assumed it was that. But it come out and it's yellow. Well, it's leans more to an orange, actually, sort of goldy yellow orange. And she kept calling it a cheese cauliflower, and I thought, I've never heard of a cheese cauliflower. So I googled it, couldn't come up with cheese cauliflower at all. But I did come up with orange. So you can evidently get red, green, white, and orange cauliflowers. And the orange cauliflower is called a cheddar cauliflower. And that makes sense, really, because it looks like cheddar cheese. So, yeah, we've got, I was going to show you, it's in the fridge, and I forgot to get it. But if you go on my Instagram page, blind_and_knitting, you'll see a picture of it on there. It's really intriguing. It tastes pretty much like a white one. I don't know if it's that much different. I know a broccoli flower is quite a different flavour to a cauliflower, but this one is probably more cauliflower-ish. But of course, all the antioxidants, and when you start getting colours in your vegetables, and my mother always said, you've got to have 3 colours on your plate. She always said, you've got to have 3 colours on your plate. So there we go, lots of colour. I've got a cool recipe that a friend gave me for a cauliflower salad with mayonnaise and sesame seeds, and it tastes just like potato salad. So I'll make one of those up with it. I've got quite a few coming up, so I may have to freeze some of it, which is grand. I'm quite happy to freeze some as well. Yeah, so my veggie garden's doing really well. I'll do a podcast out there one day. I'll pick a good time for light, and I'll do one out there. I can take my knitting and sit out there and sort of talk about my veggie garden as well, because I'm so proud of it at the moment. So not having one for such a long time. I haven't had a veggie garden because I haven't been able to. We built here, and of course with building you can only afford so much at a time, and you know, we had to work on dams, and it's a 14-acre block, so it had nothing. So we've had to work on, Stuart, God bless him, has done the bulk of the work, fences and dams and paddocks and you know, gates and all of that sort of thing well before my veggie garden. So we've been here 7 years, I think. So I haven't had one, apart from, you know, I'll make the odd little one because I'm always desperate to get my hands in the soil. Yeah, so I've had little makeshift ones, but this is a big proper one with 8 garden beds and some extras, and super excited. And our orchard is starting to fruit, so I'm way excited. Yeah, I just love all that. And the house we lived in before that, which we lived in for quite a few years, well, I lived there for 10 years, had peacocks. You couldn't have a veggie garden. There's no way you could have I don't know if any of you have ever lived with peacocks. Sounds really romantic, and when they've got their tail up, you know, right outside your lounge window, it is very pretty, but I can tell you they're not romantic to live with. They poo like dogs everywhere. It smells really bad. It's poisonous, and they scratch your car with their claws because they get up on your car. They are a huge bird. You don't realise how big they are until you live close quarters with them. And they sound like a man walking along your roof. As beautiful as they are, yeah, they can have their challenges to live with. Anyway, I don't live there anymore, but I could never have a veggie garden there either. So I am so happy to have my veggie garden. Right, I'm rambling now. Where's my notes? Rambling. Mental health. Well, did you know that there are positive ions that support antidepressant in soil? So if you can get out there and get your hands dirty and get into the soil, you will actually feel much better. It will stimulate positive ions that will help promote serotonin in your brain. So there we go. There's your mental health tip for the day. Don't be afraid to get your kids. Let your kids get out there and get dirty. You know, dirt doesn't hurt people, doesn't kill people. It has positive ions in it that help us. So get out there, get your hands dirty every now and then, get a veggie garden, even if it is just a silver beet and a tomato plant. Or my daughter, she just loves growing, oh gosh, I am itchy. That's all the dust out of those patterns. She just grows courgettes, lots and lots of courgettes. Super easy, throws them in, they take over, and you just put them in everything. The kids are eating vegetables, they fluff it up. They make if you put them in mince, it makes a big mince dish out of a little bit of mince when you're on the bones of your bum. It fluffs the meal up. The kids are having veggies they don't even know. So yeah, she swears by those, and you know, it's just easy. She gets out there and plucks away and has some of those. So there's your mental health tip. Get out and do some gardening. Let me have a look. Oh, yeah, I did buy some new PJs. I was going to make some. I went to buy make some new PJs to take to hospital because my ones are getting a bit ratty. I like PJ pants with a tank top because it gets so hot. So just a very lightweight, either a super lightweight cotton or a satin pair of PJ pants and a little tank top is what I wear to bed. Like, you need to know all this, but where I'm going with this is that I decided to make myself some new ones. But to be honest, they were so cheap. Valentine's had a sale on, and I got a pair for $13. Now, I honestly, in Warehouse, they were $10 a pair. Now, I know that they're made in China, but, you know, I know all that, but for $10, I bought 3 pair. There we go. So why would I make them? It would have certainly cost me more for the fabric and the elastic and the thread. I wouldn't need a pattern because I would just normally cut my old pair out for the shape. So yes, well, I know there's people that struggle with not buying New Zealand made. And I do in some ways too, but sometimes you just do it, don't you? And that's the difference between fast food, slow food, fast sewing, slow sewing. I did fast sewing. I just bought cheap. But anyway, I've got 3 pair of new pajamas to wear to the hospital if and when my surgery is supposed to happen next Tuesday. So I will try and get a podcast done in 2 weeks' time after that. It does depend on my recovery, so forgive me if it's a little bit later than that, but that's the goal. Anyway, so this has been fun. I hope you've sort of learned something along the way, got a little motivated along the way, and seen what I'm up to along the way. This is episode 7, so you can go back and watch the others and see what I've done in the past. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're interested in watching more. I look forward to the next one. Hopefully I'll have Happy Go Knitties wool that I can show you, so I can show you my acquisitions, and I may well have my Paris Toujours finished and my Ribblesdale Vest completed as well, depending on how my surgery goes. So have a good couple of weeks. Look forward to the next one. Bye for now. See you guys.